Headlines on Global Business. Leaders at the conclusion of the China Central Asian Summit pledged to increase ties and encourage all-round cooperation under the Xi'an Declaration. The third China's Central and Eastern European Countries Expo is underway in Ningbo, with countries pledging greater cooperation in technology. And the Japanese economy is facing pressure from falling wages and waning consumer prices as the country looks to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Hello, welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Zheng Jufeng in Beijing. A key summit hosted by China with the leaders of the 5 Central Asian nations has ended in Xi'an. Chinese President Xi Jinping attended a signing ceremony with the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. While addressing the event, President Xi said the world needs a stable, prosperous and harmonious Central Asian region. Zhao Yunfei has more.
Building a community with a shared future. That's the main message conveyed by China's President Xi Jinping to the leaders of 5 Central Asian nations in Xi'an. Hosting the meeting with the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, President Xi said the world needs a stable, prosperous, harmonious, and interconnected Central Asia, and that no one has the right to stoke confrontation in the region out of selfish political interests. He says the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and Global Civilization Initiative should serve as principles to guide the interests and future of people in China and Central Asia.
Dear colleagues, this summit has built a new platform and opened up new prospects for China-Central Asia cooperation. And China is willing to take this summit as an opportunity to work closely with all parties to plan, build, and develop China-Central Asia cooperation well. First, we will strengthen the construction of mechanisms. We have established diplomatic, economic and trade, customs and other meeting mechanisms and industrialist committees. China also proposed to establish meeting and dialogue mechanisms in the fields of industry and investment, agriculture, transportation, emergency management, education and political parties, so as to build a broad platform for all-round and mutually beneficial cooperation among countries.
President Xi also proposed to strengthen mechanisms for cooperation, expand economic ties, deepen connectivity, expand energy cooperation, enhance development capabilities, strengthen cultural exchanges, and safeguard regional peace. The 5 leaders of Central Asian countries attending the summit in Xi'an all propose ideas to future cooperation against the backdrop of a complex global environment. China established diplomatic ties with the 5 countries in 1992. For more than 3 decades, China has upheld neighborly relations with them, supporting each other on independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. All 6 leaders have signed the Xi'an Declaration and a list of achievements at the summit. The declaration reads that China and the Central Asian countries should support each other on issues concerning each other's core interests. China firmly supports the development path chosen by Central Asian countries, and the Central Asian countries reaffirm their commitment to the One China principle. All parties will continue to work with the international community to help the Afghan people gain peace and stability. The 6 countries have agreed to strengthen cooperation in trade, healthcare, energy, and transportation. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. From infrastructure connectivity to people-to-people bonds, China and Central Asia countries share in the fruitful results of cooperation under the framework. The international initiative, inspired by the Asian Silk Road, is expected to take the 1,000-year friendship between China and Central Asia to a new level. The 6 leaders planted pomegranate trees in Xi'an. Pomegranates were brought from Central Asia to China. Now the fruit symbolizes unity in China. The leaders have also agreed to meet every 2 years. The next China-Central Asia Summit will take place in Kazakhstan in 2025. China and the 5 Central Asian countries have joined hands, drawing a new blueprint for relations and cooperation. Zhao Yunfei, CGTN, Xi'an, Shanxi Province.
The inauguration of the new China Central Asia Business Council has been held today in China's northwestern city of Xi'an. It's part of the China Central Asia Summit, running from Thursday to Friday. Officials and experts say it promises to boost economic ties. Our reporter Dai Kai has more.
Government officials and representatives from across different sectors oversaw the establishment of a business council that further connects entrepreneurs from both China and Central Asia. The delegates say the formation of the council is a concrete step in implementing the consensus reached at the China Central Asia Summit held in Xi'an. They say it's a clear example of the business community's efforts in building a community with a shared future in the region.
We should uphold the principles of consultation, joint construction, and shared benefits, continuously improve the organizational framework and operational mechanism of the Business Council, and strive to develop it into the main channel for regional business exchanges and cooperation, as well as the primary platform that offers comprehensive services to enterprises.
Officials believe China and the Central Asian countries should continue tapping into their development potential in areas such as agriculture, green energy, and the digital economy. They call on both sides to uphold multilateralism and free trade. Business leaders from Central Asia say establishing a business council under present circumstances is an important move and that it will foster collaboration and mutually beneficial opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Companies at the summit focused on key areas of cooperation between China and Central Asian countries, such as energy, construction, and transportation. This event marks a new milestone in business collaboration within the China Central Asia framework. Many of the attending entrepreneurs say it is an exciting step forward in strengthening business ties. Dai Kai, CGTN, in Xi'an, Shanxi Province.
Chinese Premier Li Qiang held a meeting on Friday to urge more efforts to build a unified national market that is efficient, standardized, open, and allow fair competition. Li Qiang says it is also vital to promote the smooth flow of goods, factors, and resources on a wider scale and further release the potential of the market. This will form a new development paradigm and provide support for high-quality development of the Chinese economy. Now, at the ongoing third China CEEC Expo in the eastern city of Ningbo, many exhibitors are showcasing high-end technological products from Central and Eastern European countries. The Ministry of Commerce previously said that since 2012, China's trade with Central and Eastern European countries has grown by an average of 8.1% per year. In the first quarter of this year, the trade volume between the two sides reached over $33 billion. Our reporter Juju brings us more highlights on the technological cooperation between the two sides.
The technological cooperation between the two sides is really getting closer these years. Like if you walk around in these exhibition zones, you may be surprised to find many high-end products being showcased here. For example, this is a autonomous aerial vehicle developed by a company in Guangdong province, and it is exported this product to the Central and Eastern European countries. Well, let's take a drive. So you can see there are no men here, and they don't need any pilot to drive this vehicle. It can go up to very far and very high for like the sightseeing, and the main purpose for this vehicle is for sightseeing so far, but they may be put into more use in the future. And also, if you look at the data, so far about 70% of the trade volume between those China and Central and Eastern European countries are about mechanical and electrical products. It indicates that the technological element is also accounts more, and its added value is also increasing in recent years. And moving next, Chinese Ministry of Commerce says that the two sides will focus more on those cooperation in those new fields and in new formats, such as like low carbon, digital, and green in the future.
For more discussion on this, we're joined by Jelena Gruba-Stefanovic, head representative of the Serbian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China. Thank you for joining us. In what ways do the economies of Central and Eastern European countries and China serve as a good match for each other?
Well, thanks to somewhat similar development strategies, the Chinese and Central Eastern European economies have great potential to complement each other. I think the mutual complementarity is evident since China boasts an edge in terms of capital and technology, while the Central and Eastern European countries have a need to upgrade the sectors such as infrastructure, clean energy, telecommunication, and digital economy. On the other hand, the Central and Eastern European regions have a strong agricultural sector, which could help support China's structural food shortage somewhat. So the Central Eastern European region also serves as a gateway for Chinese products to enter the European markets, where they have a significant part, where a significant part of their customer base is. I think that with identical visions for economic development, these countries share a strong will to carry out practical and constructive cooperation.
Can you discuss the potential for the trade of goods as well as services between China and Central Eastern European countries?
Well, in terms of exports from Central and Eastern European countries to China, first I would say agriculture is something that's a backbone of many economies in our region, and one of few areas that we have somewhat a comparative advantage to China. First decade has passed with a number of achievements in strengthening agricultural ties between our region and China. For the next decade, I think it requires a somewhat clear strategic line and additional efforts to guide future development toward a bit more high level and high quality agricultural, economic and trade cooperation. Other areas I see great potential for development of trade ties are energy, tourism, logistics, forestry, healthcare, digital economy, and maritime affairs, and this in no particular order. There's a great difference indeed between China and Central Eastern European countries in terms of natural environment, production level, and economic structure. Therefore, China and Central and Eastern European countries should strengthen their trade links and implement somewhat of a specialized division of labor and independently produce and export products with comparative advantage.
Right.
It's a particularly important to analyze the competitiveness, complementarity, and growth potential of all products between our countries, and for that to guide the relevant policy recommendations that will provide direction for further expansion of trade.
Right. Jelena, you mentioned that farm produce is a pillar of trade products exported from Central and Eastern European countries to China, but now there's so many interest in technology cooperation. To what extent has there been cooperation in the tech sector between China and Central and Eastern Europe?
Well, cooperation in the field of digital economy is a very important segment of the Central and Eastern European country and China platform, and the Digital Silk Road, which is a key and important element of the Belt and Road initiative. The cooperation in technologies ranging from building digital infrastructure to smart cities cooperation, online education and technology transfers, big data and IoT segments to providing cloud infrastructure and developing AI platforms. So actually quite robust. We do hope to see a more acceleration in cooperation in these fields to help us keep in pace with global trends. Particularly in Serbia, China has had substantial role in building Serbia's digital infrastructure. The Central and Eastern European countries continue to foster the digital development and cooperation with China. As we have identified, of course, the digital economy and technological development are among key economic priorities for our country's competitiveness. So China, with its advancement in this field, can play a significant role in our digital transformation. We also hope to see more investments in, for example, our robust startup and science and innovation segments, and our new and renewable energy segments, as cooperation innovation could be a very promising direction indeed.
Thank you so much for discussing this with us. Now that's Jelena Gruber-Stanovinovich. A meeting was held on Friday in Beijing to discuss ways in which capital markets can better support the growth and development of specialized and sophisticated small and medium-sized companies. Attendees include officials from the National Development and Reform Commission, along with representatives from stock exchanges, banks, securities firms, and private equity funds. Discussion topics range from financing and technological innovation to training and regulatory strengthening.
中金特新企业创新属性强，成长性好。
Specialized and sophisticated SMEs have strong innovative attributes and good growth potential. A large number of them are small and medium-sized enterprises. From a financial point of view, these enterprises are high-risk and high-yield assets. Different from traditional credit funding support, these enterprises need long-term and higher-risk tolerant funds, which is an important battlefield for the capital market to exert its functional advantages.
On May 18th, the International Youth Friendship Meeting, co-sponsored by China Youth Federation and China Three Gorges Corporation, was held in Beijing. Representatives of international youth organizations and leaders of youth organizations from various countries attended the event to exchange ideas and experience cultural communication and cross-cultural communication. Take a listen.
I think Chinese youth have contributed a lot to their country in terms of science, technology, and other key industries, and they are very united. I hope that Brazilian youth can learn more from them in such aspects.
Young people now have more channels to understand different cultures and build bridges between different societies and nations. In this way, they should make good use of the general trend of internationalization and globalization to promote cultural exchanges, economic cooperation, and friendly exchanges between countries and create a community of shared future for mankind.
I think that many things that humans do now need to be borne by the next generation. However, through such activities, young representatives from all over the world can be gathered together to explore solutions such as environmental protection, sustainable development, and international cooperation in advance.
I think innovation is very important to global development. In this event, I heard very novel and creative ideas from young people from all over the world. And international youth are trying out China's traditional clothes, learn about local culture, thanks to such an event for providing a platform for young people to communicate and learn.
This year marks the 10th anniversary of the launch of the Belt and Road Initiative. Political leaders and scholars from all over the world gathered in Beijing on Friday to discuss the global benefits of the initiative. Our reporter Wang Tianyu has more.
With the former Prime Minister of Romania stepping into the hall, the discussion on the Belt and Road Initiative has officially started. It's a Friday afternoon with light drizzles, but the experts still made their way to Renmin University to share their insights on the initiative.
The Belt and Road Initiative was launched by China in 2013 to improve regional connectivity and facilitate economic integration. Ultimately, it aims to benefit people's livelihoods and welfare. Now, over 150 countries and 30 international organizations have participated in this endeavor.
The idea of rapid connection of roads and maritime lines of communication are essential for trade, for people, for technology, and that's why, in my opinion, the Belt and Road represents the project of the century.
Well, 10 years on, as the project is bringing new roads and bridges, sound education systems, and better health programs to the participant countries. Some critics have stated that China's Belt and Road Initiative is debt-trap diplomacy. But the experts here are totally disagree.
This is absolutely stupid. Every company in the world that wants to grow big has to borrow money. If a company never took on debt, every company would still be extremely small. The important thing is you have to make a good investment so you can repay the debt. There is a risk from making a bad investment. There is not a risk. The idea that you shouldn't take on any debt is absolutely stupid. And if you apply that to any large company in the world, they'll tell you it's completely stupid because none of them do it.
Most developing countries, many of them, suffer from a severe debt crisis long before the BRI was created. In fact, the external debt of the developing countries stands at $11 trillion. This is not debt produced by the BRI. This is debt that has been inherited by the BRI project when it enters a country.
During the symposium, organizers released a research report that reveals the assessment that China's development has reached its peak. It argues that China's growth and development is a boost to Belt and Road Initiative. Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Beijing.
You're watching Global Business. Come up next. The Japanese economy is facing pressure from falling wages and waning consumer confidence as the country looks to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Pressure is rising for the Japanese economy as declines in both wages and consumer confidence continue to hamper the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Questions also remain about Japan's ultra-loose monetary policy amid a slow global outlook. Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
Nobuyuki Kamata says he's had to shed a third of the staff at his vintage clothing store over the last few years as the pandemic kept customers away. For many retailers in Japan, it's been a fight to stay open. But now that COVID curbs have been lifted and shoppers are flocking back, Kamata is slowly beginning to rebuild.
We learned a lot from the experience of dealing with COVID. We learned how to strengthen our business and adapt to change. This allowed us to survive and our staff became stronger.
Kamata stayed afloat by reaching out to new brokers and finding new ways to secure affordable stock. And now he's finally seeing some improvement in his books. But for many businesses, the waiting game is taking too long. Consumer spending unexpectedly fell in March at the fastest rate in a year. Persistent inflation is hitting people hard in the wallet, and many businesses are struggling to cope with surging operating costs. Saki Aoyagi is the owner of another clothing retailer who's been cutting back where she can.
Small business owners like us are self-employed, so if the economy goes down due to the weak yen, our salary does not increase. Meanwhile, our personal food and electricity expenses have gone up. To cut costs, we've started to cut back on groceries and use of the air conditioner.
Aggressive rate hikes in the US, coupled with the Bank of Japan's ultra-loose monetary policy, continues to weaken the yen, pushing up import costs and prices. For months, Japanese people have been waiting for a much-anticipated rebound from the pandemic to spur wage growth, but inflation-adjusted wages have been falling for a year, dropping by nearly 3% in March on the same period a year ago. Japan's central bank is maintaining a hands-off policy, saying it wants wages to increase naturally over time.
We see some big movement in Japan. We see some inflation that we have not seen over the decades. So they still have some chance to see those changes in wage setting behavior. But the main scenario is that we don't see that drastic change in wage setting behavior.
The silver lining, economists believe that when wages finally do begin to go up, it will have a snowball effect, propelling further pay rises in the future. If and when that happens may rely on the private sector as companies balance retaining staff with the soaring cost of business. Chris Gilbert for CGTN, Tokyo.
Let's move on to some other business headlines that we're tracking at this hour. Bank of Japan has reaffirmed its stance to maintain an ultra-loose monetary policy given extremely high uncertainty of the economic outlook. The central bank governor says the recent inflation growth is due to external factors rather than domestic demand. Therefore, he added, a tighter monetary policy would hurt the economy. The UK has announced up to £1 billion or $1.24 billion of support for its semiconductor industry. The move is aimed at boosting domestic chip making and prevent supply disruptions. Meanwhile, the IMF resident representative for Ghana, Leandro Medina has expressed appreciation for China's active participation in the country's debt restructuring. He made remarks during a meeting with Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Lu Kun. The latter expressed China's willingness to work towards the Western African country's debt sustainability and jointly push global governance towards a fairer and more reasonable direction. ChatGPT, a remarkable achievement in the AI revolution, is expected to supercharge productivity in all aspects of human life. On this week's episode of Biz Talk, we bring you insights on China's advancements in the field of ChatGPT and how it is being used to improve business and society as a whole.
Actually, three things make ChatGPT smart. The first one is we call it a big model or large model. Large language model, LLM, is the first technology. So the second step is called instruction tuning. Basically, people feed instruction data, transcribe instruction data to train the model so that it can accept human instruction. And the third one is called RLHF, reinforcement learning with human feedback. It's basically make ChatGPT talk to a function produced by human so that it can align with the culture.
And more of that interview, stay tuned to Biz Talk at 16:30 this Saturday for an informative and insightful discussion on ChatGPT. That will do for this edition of Global Business on CGTN. Thank you for watching. I'm Zheng Jufeng. My colleague will continue with more views and news on CGTN. Stay with us.